So welcome. Thank you guys so much for those of you who waited for 52 minutes to get started. This is Love the Body You're In. And apparently there's a lot of resistance either from me or from the world or from somebody to get this up and running, but we're up and running. So thank you all for being here. Welcome. If you don't have anything to write with, grab something to write with because we're going to be doing some writing activities today. Take your time on doing that now. And I'm going to kind of get started giving you guys some, laying the foundation, laying the groundwork for our talk today. And I'm going to go over kind of my goals for the time. I'm going to go over my plan for the specific plan for the time. And then we're going to kind of get started. So let me just show you a lot of this stuff I'm going to be showing you because I don't know about you guys, but I learned from reading. So I'm going to be doing like some screen sharing stuff with you as we go. And it's okay. I think I'm figuring it out. Nope, I can't.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah,
This is so funny.
Or actually here.
If I click on it, it leaves the application.
Okay, so now you want to do.
That's not the one though. I need the PowerPoint.
Yeah, no, that is.
That's not the PowerPoint.
It is on that window. So if you click on that, yeah. So it's just for the window, not the tab.
Okay. Thank God for help right now.
I'll present to everyone, and then go back to that window. Now, yep. And then.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And you can probably do full screen if I don't care.
I don't know how to do that. Okay, guys. All right. So these are my goals for today. Hopefully this will get a little more streamlined as we go, but these are my goals for today. And these are really big. And when I say these are really big, I mean they're really important, but I also mean they're really difficult. And so I'm going to try to go as slow as I can today. I've done this talk a number of times. It's edgy, it's chargy, it's difficult stuff. It's wounded. It's a wounded place for us. So my goals for today are to shed light on the nature of our relationships with our body and how our worth is hooked into our body image and how to unhook it. Many of you are probably familiar with what I say there. My next goal is to be an advocate for my body, for your bodies, and the collective treatment of all of our bodies and the self-worth of all women. So if I get passionate, if I get very emphatic, that's who I'm talking to. That's what I'm advocating for. Is our bodies and our self-worth. I want to tell the truth as I see it, and I want to share about the path of recovery as I know it. So this is my truth and the recovery path that I know, and I take people down. And then I also want to inspire new ways of thinking about our body and introducing myself as a resource for healing. So new ways of thinking about our body. I need to go to the next one.
Whenever you were in the present, did it let you hit space?
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go over what we're doing today. You can see me right now, right? Okay. All right, so this is a plan of what we're actually going to be doing. I'm going to be defining a number of terms like body image, body hatred. I'm going to be discussing different types of body hatred. We're going to be doing some writing. I'm going to introduce specifically, this is kind of the heart of what I do, but I'm going to specifically talk about, am I on camera right now?
No, yeah, you're back on camera.
Okay, cool.
You stopped sharing. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just using this for me.
Okay, gotcha.
So I'm introducing ways for us to detox off the toxic programming that we've been taught. So the toxic programming that we've been taught is the problem. And so I'm teaching people, I want to teach you all how to detox off of it, and how to use more awareness when we're exposed to it. I want to discuss, so basically, this is right. Yep, this is not the right PowerPoint. This is amazing. You guys would not believe this. Like, I could write a dissertation on all of the things that happened, though those of you who know me, I am a pristine planner. Like, I can plan like you would not believe. And I can do technology. I'm quick, I'm good. But like, whoa, just whoa. Okay. So yeah, let me just put this open on my computer over here. And what I'm gonna do, this is just gonna be a completely improvisational thing that we're gonna do because it's not working the way I planned it. Just not working. Okay. This is still not it. This is very odd. Did a whole other. There we go. Okay. Let me get back to myself here. Just gonna get back to myself. Okay. All right. So, I want to tell you guys, we're going to be talking about, if we can get past the technology issue, what we're going to be talking about is body image. We're going to be talking about loving the body that you are in right now today. I'm having a hard time being in my body. I'm in my mind around what's happening in this room and on this screen and that screen, so many screens. And so I want to go through some specific, it's not open. The thing that I need right now is not open for me.
Are there any other files that I should open?
I don't think so. This is it. Okay. All right. So I feel like I need to just completely drop this. All right, I'm just going to say this stuff. It may land, it may apply, it may not. So this is my disclaimer about this talk, the talk that I hope to give here. So so I've done this talk a number of different times, almost always in person. I've given it online a few times, but I've learned a lot. I've had a lot of feedback from people, from women mainly. And essentially what happens, what I've learned is that when I give this talk, it brings up a lot of feelings for people. That's completely normal. This topic is supercharged. And so I want to lay some groundwork before I get started, that these are notes on what I want for everyone to keep in mind while we're here today. So first of all, I call it as I see it and I teach it as I know it. And I'm super direct and I am a truth person. So that doesn't mean that what I say is right. That just means what I say is true for me, and take what you need and leave the rest. The work that I recommend and the work that I'm going to talk about is advanced. Yeah. And there are ways that I give you to start on the path that are simpler. But the stuff that I talk about is long-term, advanced, deep work. Okay, so if you're doing things that I say are destructive or not doing things that I say are healing, that does not mean you're doing it wrong. You're doing it normal. You're doing it like I do it some days. You're doing it how we've all been taught to do it. So if I sound advanced, if I sound like, whoa, this is too much, this is too deep, it's because it is. You are where you are, and so be where you are. And I just want to say a blanket, you're okay where you are. I'm just giving you guide. I'm giving you a guide. I'm telling you how to advance. If you're feeling overwhelmed during this talk today, pause it, stop it, come back later. This is all going to be recorded, all in its technological glory. It's going to be all recorded. Okay, so you can come back to this at any point. I'm going to be binary with gender terms today. I got a lot of crap for this for a talk I did earlier in the week. So I'm just going to say I am going to today use binary gender terms, and I'm mostly going to be talking about women and men. I'm mostly talking about women, but I'll say men sometimes, maybe. Okay, that does not mean that I don't believe that non-conformation to that those binary terms is a thing. Those are just the terms that I'm using. Okay, I believe what I'm talking about applies to everybody, and I try to be inclusive. I'm not trying to be exclusive, but those are the terms that I'm going to use. I'm going to talk mainly about women. Okay. If you want to continue doing this work, if you're like, wow, this is really good, but I don't know exactly how to keep doing this, let me know, because I have events going on all month, the month of July. This is just our kickoff event. And I will essentially be my main focus for the month of July will be on this. And I have students in my Thrive program who are already in the progress. We've been in this ongoing program since February. So, and we'll be going till November. So if you want to join in, you can, if you want to get more advanced with this stuff. So please do. Okay. I think we're dropped in. I think we're where we're going to be. And I want to start today by doing just a meditation, which would be really helpful for me. But basically for this next part, we're going to be trying to get grounded, and I'm going to try to help everybody get into your body, including myself. So let's go ahead and wherever you are, whatever you're doing, try to get yourself in a comfortable position. If you can be upright, that's helpful to let your spine be in its natural shape. So close your eyes if you feel comfortable. And start breathing a little bit more deeply. And as you sit with yourself and just breathe, take this moment to really slow down. So notice your breathing. And as you're breathing intentionally, really notice any area in your body where you're feeling any pain or discomfort, and start there. And when I say start there, I mean put your attention on that area. Maybe your back of your neck, your lower back, your hip, wherever it is. Place your attention there. Feel free to adjust how you're sitting. Do what you need to do based on what that part is telling you you need. Now we'll just take a quick trip through the body, and we're going to start on the outside of the body, remembering to breathe. Just notice your body at the skin level. Notice the way the air feels on your skin, maybe your clothing. Maybe the floor is under your feet. Feel your back body being supported. And I'll go in one layer, maybe a couple layers. Go into your skeleton and feel the structure of your skeleton, your skull, your spine, your ribs, your joints at your shoulders and hips and knees, ankles. And then go in another couple layers to your organs. Feel your brain, and down in your trunk. Feel your heart. Your digestive organs. Your reproductive organs. All the way at the very core of your body. And bring your attention back out to your skeleton, holding your form, and back out to your skin. Feel the room around you, hear the room around you, smell the room around you. Move your fingers and toes a little bit just to bring you back. When you feel ready, just as slowly as you need to, just open your eyelids super slow. Let the light in, eyelash by eyelash. All right. I feel better. So I'm going to stay on screen instead of trying to share the screen with you guys for the rest of the webinar. And I'm going to put my PowerPoint presentation up on the page so you can access it at any point. It won't be there now though, so sorry. But I'll be speaking it, so I'll speak in a way that is clear and a little bit repetitive, so I can make sure you guys get what you need. So now that we're landed in the body, just notice how you feel now. I know I feel more solid. I feel more still. I feel more sturdy. So I'm going to start talking about stuff. So I'm going to start at the very beginning and yeah, okay, you can see me. So at the very beginning, really, what we're looking at, what we're talking about here is it's just the body. And the body is very simple, right? When we define what the body is, what the body does, this is and really what we're referring to in this whole thing about body image is the body. And so when you just strip it down and say, what's the body? It's very, very simple. It is, I'll read it, the Webster definition, the physical form of a person or animal, including the bones and organs. So simple. And so it's literally our body functioning as any living creature with a nervous system, how it functions. We got our whole musculature system, we got our skeletal system, we went into that when we meditated. So that's really at the primal level, that's what the body is. And we have departed so far from understanding that is what the body is. We have such a deep misunderstanding about what it actually is. So I just want to try to ingrain that's the body. The health of the body is so much more based off of those things, the muscles and the joints and the bones and the organs. Some might say the nervous system, but that's kind of more energetic than it is physical. It's a whole other realm. We could do a whole other webinar on that one. So, this is a better one to look at, but it's fine. I'm going to read you so I'm going to talk next about body image, right? So this is, we don't in this day and age, and probably for a long time, we don't actually think of the body as I just described it. We think of it in terms of body image a lot of the time. And so body image, the best definition that I've ever read of it is this. So hold on to your hats. Body image refers to the way we perceive our own bodies and the way that we assume other people perceive us. Body image involves our perception, imagination, emotions, and physical sensations of and about our bodies. It's not static, but ever changing. It's sensitive to changes in mood, environment, and physical experience. Is not based on fact. It is psychological in nature and much more influenced by self-esteem than by actual physical attractiveness as judged by others. It's not inborn, but learned. It's not inborn, but learned. This learning occurs in the family and among peers, but that learning is only reinforced by what's learned and expected culturally. Much more complicated when we start talking about body image, right? So body image is essentially how we've gotten all psychologically wrapped up in some sort of judgment system around attractiveness, what is and isn't attractive, and how important that seems to be. And it is. It's so important. Whether it's conscious or not, it's become so important, so ridiculously important. And so because of that sense that we always have of our body image, how we look today, and why that determines how worthy or how valuable we are, we have developed lots and lots of behaviors that I call body hatred. And you can essentially, well, no, I'll mention that in a second. But okay, so body hatred it takes a number of different forms, and we're going to go over 3 different forms that it takes. But body hatred is a poor relationship with our body. It basically, so we can have a relationship with our body, and you guys probably all know that you have a relationship with your body. Everybody on earth has a relationship with their body. And that relationship, it can change every day, but we can do things in relationship to our body that are destructive or abusive. We can do things in relationship to our body that are healthy and supportive and create like a bond, a positive bond. And we can have chronic problems based on body hatred. If we've done a lot of body hating types of activities, we can have a chronically poor or abusive relationship with our body, in which case the body stops trusting us. Body stops trusting us. So what happens is, every day we wake up and we sort of decide in that moment what kind of relationship we're in with our body, within some period of time at least. And a lot of times it has a lot to do with where you go to be in the mirror the first time. So a lot of times that is the moment that defines the rest of the day. And women, it's all women here, so you know what I'm talking about. I think women struggle with this a little bit more. So at that point, we may be working from, it's like, oh, kind of a clean slate, or we may be working from, we already have a serious problem. We're already in a bad relationship with our bodies. And so that determines whether we're going to have another bad body image day today. So I'm going to go over forms of body hatred. And if we're in having a day that we're not in a great relationship with our body, there's a good chance we're going to be doing some of these. And so when I started the talk and I talked about how I can come across when I'm talking about some of these destructive behaviors, I want for you to try to keep an open mind about what I'm saying. And when I say keep an open mind, I want you to be gentle with yourself. It's okay if you're doing any or all of these things with your body. That would make you completely normal. Okay, but the idea is that we start as a society, as women, getting more aware of what we're doing and trying to stop. And we're not going to be perfect ever, but the idea is progress, not perfection. So there's 3 different types of body hatred, 3 different types of ways that we could be destructive with our body. The first one is physical mistreatment. The second one is objectification. And the third one is impossible expectations. So we're just going to kind of go through them one at a time. And I'm going to try to make this friendly for listening, as opposed to looking, but to reading. Okay, so physically mistreating our body means that we are disrespecting the boundaries that our body is telling us. And we might be doing it right now, actually. In fact, I don't feel particularly respectful to my body just sitting in this chair because I'm super picky about chairs. And I usually don't like to sit for more than like 10, 15 minutes. And so many of you may feel like you're disrespecting a boundary in your body right now, which is not the end of the world. It just means that you're going to need something when you decide to get out of this position. You need to stretch, you need to walk, you need to lay down, do whatever you need to do, just so you're caring for the body. So some forms of disrespecting the body's boundaries is exercising past your body signal that says, I need rest, exercising past that. Not providing exercise when your body gives that signal, I need to move, or I need to stretch, I need some sort of movement that's nourishing for me. restricting our eating when we're hungry, when our body gives us hunger cues, eating things that cause our body pain or sickness, eating past fullness, and we get another signal from our body that's like, okay, I'm good, I'm satisfied, or it'll say, okay, I'm good, I'm satisfied, and then if we keep going, it'll say, okay, I'm full, right? And we choose to stop wherever we choose to stop, and it may be a boundary violation for our body. We can position ourselves in a way that our body does not like sitting in a chair that it doesn't like, sitting for a period of time it doesn't like. In yoga, I've done this quite a bit, but just positioning, being in a pose, and my body's past a boundary. It's like too much stretch, or this muscle's done for now. Child's pose, please. Self-injury, and some people struggle with self-injury. It's a whole other thing in and of itself. Disrespecting an injury that we have, self-injury or not injury. By the way, if we've engaged in self-injury, which is common, especially among women and girls, we have a lot of healing that we need to do. And once we're ready, it's important that we start healing whatever that part of our body or whatever that process was when we were self-injuring. So when we disrespect an injury by working through it or thinking that we're doing ourselves some kind of a favor by pushing through, that's disrespecting an injury. And then not expressing boundaries where other people are in contact with our bodies, so touch or sex, not saying what we need, saying this hurts or this doesn't feel good, or I want to stop now, or whatever it is, but not respecting those boundaries with sex or touch. Okay, so those are the under the category of physical mistreatment. That stuff is what am I trying to say? Those are the ways of physically mistreating ourselves. Okay, so we got two more types of body hatred that I'm going to go through, and then we'll shift to the next thing. So the next thing I'm going to talk about in body hatred, as we keep defining this, it's a real rich, detailed definition. We got a lot of it going on. And the second one is objectification. This happens constantly if you watch the television. It's constantly happening. Constantly happening. Essentially, people are ornaments on television, especially women. Their bodies are made to be ornaments. They're meant to be looked at. And so seeing the body as an ornament, or seeing it as something that needs to look a certain way so that it brings a certain reaction or response to people, is a form of body hatred. Valuing your body's appearance above its health and well-being is a form of objectification, right? So we just went through the inside of the body mainly, right? But if we're just focusing, if all our body focus is the way that our body looks, then we're objectifying. We're saying all that matters is the outside, the aesthetics of it. And that is very unkind to all those things, those digestive organs and those muscles and all of our structure in there. So when we exercise purely for appearance, we're just trying to make an appearance. What I mean by that is we're trying to make our body appear a certain way, look a certain way. That's objectification. When we're eating with the aim to achieve an appearance, same thing. We're restricting or whatever it is. We're not eating what the body wants. We're eating what our agenda tells us we need to eat so that we look a certain way. Subscribing to the mass media's ideals of attractiveness. By the way, this is almost completely unconscious. We're pretty much all doing it. And then having self-talk that's going on internally, that's determining our worth based on how we look today. So it's a lot of stuff, right? And you guys are probably, if you're like most of the women who listen to my talks, you're exhausted at this point, and I don't blame you. I'm not saying this to exhaust anybody. I'm saying this to raise awareness. and we're all doing this stuff. And it's not about stopping doing it immediately. It's just about knowing this, knowing this and having the intention, which I think most of the people here probably have a good, strong intention to treat our bodies better. So this is how we start. Okay, so the last type of body hatred that I want to talk about is impossible expectations. We got a lot of this going on as a culture. So, yes, we have impossible expectations about our bodies, most of us, probably like 97% of us, because the other three have the possibility of looking like people on television do, and that's actually about right, 3%. So, otherwise we're just most people are in a state of like depletion or really abusing their bodies trying to get there, and it's not fair. So the first and most important unrealistic expectation is attempting to get one's body to look like anyone else's body. If you want to try to get your body to look like anyone else's body, you are imposing an unrealistic expectation onto it, because you have a one-of-a-kind body, just like every other woman, every other person has a one-of-a-kind body. So it's really important to realize when we're doing that, we do it all the time. And then trying to lose or gain weight or muscle fast and maintain it. Believing that happiness or self-esteem will follow body transformation. And I don't know how many of you have had any sort of body transformation, but you probably noticed that it didn't make a lot of these neuroses go away. Hiding any of your features of your body, hoping that nobody notices it. And I don't know about you all, but I notice body. We're programmed to look at bodies, so people notice it. People see us. Trying to avoid aging. That's when I got some gray hairs up in here. I'm in peace with it mostly, but I'm 36, so trying to avoid aging. Not going to get to do that, unfortunately. Taking photos, posing to warp your appearance. This is a big one on social media. I guess I'm kind of doing it right now, trying to bring the camera up here instead of from down here. It's a webinar rule I'm trying to follow. Believing that your life would be better if your body was different. I think many women have thought of that at some point. So these are all the unrealistic expectations that we impose on our systems. Okay. So that's my reminder to breathe, and my reminder to you to breathe, and just kind of take that in and notice if you're in a state of self-criticism with yourself. Notice if you're feeling overwhelmed. It's a lot of material. Just notice what you're feeling. And most of it is probably unconscious. You might feel bad right now. You might feel critical of yourself. You might feel like you're doing a lot of bad things. You might feel a completely different way than what I just said, but just whatever it is, notice how you're feeling. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to transition. We're going to do some writing, and I'm going to ask for you to reflect for several minutes on where your relationship with your body might be damaged, right? I know right now we're kind of in the negatives of stuff, looking at how we're looking at body hatred, right? And it's not the brightest, lightest, funnest thing to be looking at, but this is where we need to heal, and that's why I'm focusing here. So, as I said in the beginning, if you need to pause at any point, do that. But for this writing activity, what you're going to be doing is, where is your relationship with your body damaged? What would it be like if it was repaired? How would that be different? And what do you need to start that repair process? What do you need to start that repair process with yourself? So we're going to just take a couple minutes and write here. I'm going to go silent and I'll just kind of go by feel. So go ahead and give yourself some time to write. Where's your relationship with your body damaged? What would it be like if it was repaired? And what do you need to start that repair work? That's my girl, Lucy.
You can press hold, right?
What'd you say?
Just like press it down to 72 and then hold.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
sure.
like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Also, if you have to go at some point, don't take a break. Also, as you're doing this, feel free, because this gives me a minute to look at my comments here. So feel free to leave me some questions. Of anything you got going on. Lucy has some questions. So is that just new stuff since we opened the window?
No, it should be everything chat wise.
Okay.
Yeah, that is fine.
Because we had some before. Hmm. There's 3 watching. All right. So from here, trying to decide if I want to take a break now or if I want to keep going and then take a break here in a little bit. I think I'll talk. All right, so let's go ahead and take a break. And I want you to take an intentional break from here if you possibly can. And we're gonna break for like 10 minutes. And what I want you to do is spend that time paying attention to your body. Maybe it's been telling you something for the last hour or so, and if it wants you to do something, it would be right in line with this webinar for you to just provide for it. And the other thing that I would recommend is that you don't get yourself wrapped into something else or someone else, so that you can keep your attention on you, which will make it so you won't have to transition back in to you again, because we've already intentionally done that. So let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break till 2:50, and come on back at that point, and we'll continue. Okay, guys, coming on back. If you did anything positive for your body, feel free to chat it. I got some liquid protein because it's time. And yeah, standing up feels good. So I hope you gave your body some attention. All right, so we've covered a lot of stuff, and what we're going to cover now, we're going to start going through talking about the way that we're programmed. And this is the problem. This is the crux of the problem when we get down to it. All of the body hatred things that we're doing, all the body image misunderstanding that we have up in our brains, it's all created by toxic programming. And the programming's already established in most of us, except some really young people or maybe some people who've been completely sheltered from mass media. Not that likely. But so we're going to get down to talking about programming and how to detox off of it. How to detox and how to reprogram, just sort of like unplug from that, the matrix. Take the blue pill instead of the red pill or whichever pill it is to get out of the matrix. So yeah, the biggest concept that I want for everyone to take from this is the concept that we all have been programmed and that it's very deeply ingrained. It's not just ingrained in me, it's ingrained in you, it's ingrained in everyone around you, because we don't really get much of a break from the mass media unless you give it to yourself. So it's a strong word, but the enemy, the problem here at the very core, the very root of everything is that we have this very off-kilter programming about what is attractive and what isn't. And then what happens is inevitably, no matter who we are, there's stuff that we have going on with ourselves, our body, or whatever it is. It could be our personality, whatever it is, we develop a problem with it because it doesn't match that image that we are supposed to fulfill, that we're supposed to reflect. So the work that I want to do for the next hour or so, a little under an hour, is working on deprogramming and giving you guys tools. We're not going to deprogram all of ourselves in this next hour, but I'm going to talk about lots of different tools so that we know how to. And I'm sure many of you are already doing this. When I show some of the images that I show at my talks, I can tell that there is a lot of drive to deprogram. There's a lot of anger looking at images of women in the mass media, a lot of anger, and a lot of like rebellion against it, if that's the right word. And so it's in the works, and the thing that it needs is practice. It needs practice and intention. So by the way, if you want to know more about our programming, it's a little bit angry. I don't know if this is backwards. Let me look at my reflection. This is called The Beauty Myth. This book's called The Beauty Myth, and it's by Naomi Wolf. And this is a very thorough, oh good, it comes up right. This is a very, very thorough, I don't know if it's an expose, but it's basically how we got shaped, how the images, especially of women, and what's good and what's wrong, got shaped. And a lot of it is talking about the patriarchy and men essentially deciding what is attractive and what is not, and then there's essentially a manipulation of women in many ways. Yeah, so visually, psychologically, all of that. So it's a great book to understand how the media specifically manipulates us. And if you look at images on television and in movies and things like that, you'll notice lots of little things. A lot of it's around light and colors, but they're essentially made to have things look sexy. And when I say sexy, I mean, like, I'm using it right now, by the way. I don't know if you can see this reflection in my eye, but I'm using lighting that's causing it so that I don't have as many like shadows and things like that. So it looks more professional, I guess. I'm using it to look professional. I swear I'm not trying to look great. I do try to look good, but whatever. It skews the reality of what things actually look like. And if you watch most movies, some indie movies don't qualify, but if you watch most movies, one of the things you'll notice is if there's a scene where there's pavement, it's literally wet. It's washed. It's shiny. Okay, like shiny is sexy. And so a lot of times if you'll see mostly women's bodies, they look shiny. They're shining, they're shimmering, they're glimmering. And it's telling you this thing that's shiny is sexy. It's in an unconscious way telling you this is attractive. It's using our psychology. It's colors as well do this, certain colors. They tell our unconscious mind that this is desirable, this is good, you want this. And so some of this is totally under the radar, right? But it's happening. And as we're watching a TV scene or whatever it is, all these messages are going in, whether we realize it or not. So pay attention to this. We'll talk a lot more about this in the upcoming. So the goal here is to change our programming so that we are not just taking this hook, line, and sinker as we watch what we watch. We're either not going to watch it or we're going to watch it with consciousness and be straight with ourselves about what's attractive and what's not. I'll go deeper into that later. So the other thing, by the way, that I want to say about this is that a lot of times when we're discussing this, we're having this discussion. I have this discussion a lot with people. I just had a talk this week where there was a very heated discussion and there were a lot of emotions flying as a body image talk. And we started getting mad at each other. And we forget when we're talking about like objectification of the body, we forget that none of us are wrong. We're not having this conversation because anybody's wrong. We're all doing what's natural to us because we have been programmed. So the enemy, the problem is the programming, not the person. Even the person may not be willing to let their programming go. And that's got to be okay. Like if they're not willing, they're not willing. But they're just swimming in the same water that you are swimming in, right? So it's not the people. We don't want to attack the people, and we don't want to attack. These are the people in our everyday lives. The people who are running marketing campaigns, yeah, let's attack them. but the people in your everyday life who may be causing offense or whatever, it's like, let's talk about this programming. Let's see, like for those of us who are interested, that's what I love about the people who are here and the people who are interested in my programs. We're interested in shedding this crap off of us. So let's talk about it here where it's actually welcomed, and then we can start to work on people who are more resistant, and then the larger picture, which I just heard word the other day that American Eagle, I think it's American Eagle, has essentially taken on responsible marketing where they're pledging to show a wider variety of bodies in their models. So it's a huge win, like such a large clothing chain like that. So then from there we can expand out to look in at these larger phenomenons, but it starts with us. It starts with us as individual people in our relationships. So that being said, let me get a quick sip. How do we reprogram ourselves? How? Many of you have probably tried some of this already, but what I'm going to talk about next is how. And the first thing, there's two main ways that I coach people to get out of this, to unprogram, or I guess call it reprogramming, but I think if we were to reprogram, if you were to use the term reprogram, basically you want to reprogram yourself so that you're open, as like there are many different forms of attractiveness. It is not just like one or two. It's not just like tiny body, big boobs, big cantaloupe butt, real firm, dark, like nice tan skin. Like these are kind of the stereotypical features, right? So sure, that can be attractive, and so can many other things, like skin that's not firm, like skin that's not smooth, like skin that's light color, skin that's a really dark color, a body that is large, a body that has curves, a body that's round, a body that's straight. You know what I mean? Like all of these different things, they're all attractive. They can be inclusive, but if you want to start somewhere, start with your body. You start with your body and you start working on why that's attractive, why all these features that I see are attractive, and start really just getting that, trying to burn that in there. So one of the challenging things while we're working through this process is what I'd call exposure. And so when we're still exposing ourselves to all the media images, we have to be mindful about that. So there are two different ways that externally, there's the internal work, but there's the external work of like, what are we laying our eyes on exactly? What am I looking at? Because if I'm looking at something that was designed by somebody specifically to get me to keep watching, then I'm being manipulated. Okay, so I need to limit my exposure. You can either limit or just change your exposure. And so when I talk about limiting the exposure, I mean like going for a detox, like detox yourself off TV and movies. And you can go for something like 7 days. You can go for a month. By the way, if you're one of my Thrive women, I want you to go 30 days so bad, because we're really working on the challenges. But if you really buckled down and went for 30 days, I promise you would have major results, and you just step outside of the matrix and you lay your eyes on reality only. So when we do that, it's amazing how we change the way that we feel. We change the way that we see. So we limit or change our exposure, or we learn how to process that exposure differently. So it's not teaching us and reinforcing these ideals about this very limited scope of attractiveness, very, very limited. So let me go through a couple choice places that I want you guys to keep your eye on in terms of where we tend to pick up toxic images. My computer just froze. It is so amazing. Okay, so the biggest place where we pick up toxic messages is television and movies and magazine. These are the three places where our visual experience is completely manipulated. That is not all of television and movies. That would just be probably like 95% of them. The other 5%, I just watched the Mr. Rogers movie last night, and that is a very good example. That show and the movie is a very good example of purely responsible programming. That's exactly the basis of it. It was like the beginning of television. Fred Rogers was like, whoa, TV is really toxic. And so he got on there and he made a show that wasn't. It just wasn't. It was a total 180 from what was going on television for kids elsewhere. And if you watch kids stuff now, it's great. Like a lot of the messages that our kids are getting are intentionally they're good for the earth. They're being taught to be kind to the earth, and they're being taught to be kind to each other, and let's build a healthy self-esteem, right? And all these things are coming through. And so there's the 5% of programming that really is, when I say let me not use programming because I'm using that in a different way, but 5% of our media experience is coming from a responsible source where they're trying to be responsible. The other 95 isn't. It just isn't. So they're trying to sell things. They're trying to get you to watch through to the commercial, and then they're trying to get a lot of people to tune into their program. And so that's their focus on the bottom line. So essentially, TV, movies, magazine, okay? And so then the next place that I want you guys to really focus on is social media. And social media can be a source of this toxic messaging. It can be, but it is not necessarily. There's also a lot that's coming up and coming through because it's a reflection of us as a people more so. There are a lot of ads on there. We'll talk about that. But overall, it's more of a reflection of us as people. And so, and the other thing about it is it's smart. And when I say smart, I mean you can control it. You control it. It wants to be controlled by you. Your news feed is dying all in like technology anymore. Like it really does want to be controlled by us if we will control it, and we essentially click and unnotify or take things off of our notifications or remove from our news feed or whatever it is, in a way that's strategic. So one of the activities that I would highly recommend that you do is just go through your news feed. I don't know Instagram. I'm sorry. I'm the last person on the planet to not know Instagram, but I'm sure it's similar to Facebook. I'll kind of use Facebook as when I describe this, but you can go down your news feed in Facebook and you just remove ads and things from people that you don't like. You don't have to unfriend people, but it's just like remove it from your timeline. Remove notifications for things, and you just train it. You can just keep going down and it will intuitively shift. It will intuitively shift. And if, oh my God, what's the greatest is if you see something that's like body affirming or self-esteem affirming, you click on that thing. You click it. You reinforce, this is what I like. This is what I want to see. This is good. Let's make this popular, right? So it's something you can do for both your news feed, but you can also do it for the collective news feed, right? If something has if something gets popular, it gets reinforced and we'll get to see it more and people will do more of it. We may even get big business and television and movie programming to change. I think we already are, but so friends and family are another source of toxic messaging sometimes. And some of our family, it may take the form of like them criticizing us. That's really extreme, right? And there's a good chance that we all have someone in our lives who criticize us or our appearance, our self-esteem, and make it about appearance or something like that. And I highly recommend that we limit our exposure and we only expose ourselves when we're feeling really strong. And it's okay to not be in those environments when we're not up to it, because it is kind of a boundary violation. So, and the other thing is it doesn't actually even have to be direct. If we're around somebody who's constantly criticizing their own body, or they're really focused on some whatever crazy they're doing the boot camp and the Whole30 and they're on 12 things at once, just trying to desperately get their body to conform. It's when we are trying to do this work, which most people here are, when we're trying to do this work, we're really sensitive to that. And we might not always be, but I just want to give full permission to just not go there. If you're not in the mood, if you don't want to, just don't go there. So the next one I like to tell people to watch out for is the gym. And somebody corrected me the other day. The YMCA actually has a different culture than most gyms. But I think that most gyms are essentially focused on the same superficial thing, which is lose weight, get trim, get firm, get muscly, and look good. So, and then there's a whole wall of mirrors to gaze at yourself and either criticize you, but definitely be judging yourself, either good or bad. Like you're there to judge yourself. So be mindful of the gym. Be mindful of the gym. Shopping. That's another one. It's always only a matter of time before I tank while shopping for clothes, especially for clothes is what I'm talking about. And there's lots of stuff going on. There's photos of models, there's mannequins. There are all these different images, and there's a lot of focus. You're basically putting stuff on your body that may or may not fit, and there's a good chance that it doesn't. Putting it on your body and you're looking at it. And so I was just having this conversation of the talk I did this week, but a lot of times what we go into, that the frame of mind that we go into when we're trying on clothes is there's something wrong with my body. And what's actually happening is there's something wrong with the clothes because it's not fitting your body. So this is another form of reprogramming. We don't have to do a whole bunch of clothes shopping, especially when we're working on our body image. And if we do, really saying affirming things like that, trying to, as much as we can, to fight that crap that's going on inside us is really helpful, really important. So I'm going to try something technological here. Did my battery go? Is that what's happening?
Might be just asleep. Did it not froze earlier?
Just make sure we're good. Okay. I'm going to try a fancy trick here, but I want to show you guys. So what I'm going to do, let me just say before I do it, what I'm going to try to do, let me just make sure I can do it first before I go into all that. Okay. I can't do it. I just wanted to make sure, see where we are. So we're watching. Okay. So that's all I wanted to see. So I'm going to show some images, and I'm essentially going to try to keep it open, but I want to give you two different experiences. Mainly what I'm going to be showing you are images, and I think it's all women, that are exposing to reality. Right, so you're exposing yourself to a realistic picture of what the female body looks like. And then some, I'm going to talk you through it too, but some, I think just one, where it's not a realistic representation of what the female body looks like. It's a really limited viewpoint. So let's see here. Good. Okay. You go big on this.
So in here, it's not actually doing anything on the screen, so you have to go back to.
Back to the.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay. And then if you do present, link there. If you hit the space bar, you can just follow it.
Okay.
Or maybe the. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Okay. So this right here is a photo that the Dove campaign, or a photo ad that the Dove campaign ran for a while. Sorry, it's so pixelated, but I guess it really doesn't matter. And the idea here is showing non-models. Well, actually, some of these may be models. I don't know. Sometimes these pictures have models in them as well. But these are women just having a relatively real time together. And yeah, these bodies are not what we usually look at. And so one of the ways we can expose ourselves is just like look at what you see and notice what you're thinking. Notice how you might be feeling. Notice how you're comparing. You're comparing these people to yourself. You may be trying to find someone who looks like you. A lot of times we do that. We're trying to be we want to be represented. That's good. Whatever it is that you're doing, just notice maybe you're comparing these people to each other. you'll probably notice that there are things that you see that register as beauty. Just notice that. Don't make yourself wrong here, but notice if you see something and you feel like, oh, that's beauty, that's attractive. Interesting that you think that. Notice if there's something that you see as unattractive. And you can do a couple things with that. Like you can keep looking at it if you want to. I would highly recommend that you focus there, right? Because we want to broaden out what we see as attractive. So if there's something that you see as unattractive, try to give it a chance. What is it about that? Why is it unattractive? Who says? What is actually positive about that feature? What do you like about it? I'm going to switch to another image that's pretty similar. This one is from a movie called Embrace. Amazing movie. You can see the woman. She has blonde hair. That sets her apart from everyone else. She has blonde hair. Her name's Taryn, and she wrote that movie. It's called Embrace. Highly recommend that every woman ever watch that movie. She talks about the global epidemic of body hatred, and she goes all over the world to research it. Does lots of interviews and talks to people from the mass media, the magazines, the television, modeling, all that good stuff. It's an amazing story, an amazing source of information. It's on Netflix, by the way. So this group of women is similar, right? Similar in that it's a realistic depiction of what bodies look like. These are not models. Actually, there is a model in there, and I think it's the second woman. She is literally a model. And so it's like, okay, we can accept that. We can also accept a woman with cerebral palsy who walks with a cane. And lots of different sizes here. The first person is actually transgendered. Most of these people are moms. They've bared children. I think that's how you bear children, bore children. All right, so same thing here. You just expose yourself here. Expose yourself, let this image in. Notice what you notice. Just notice what you notice. Okay. By the way, if one of the things that you can notice is if you're using someone to boost somebody's features to boost your own worth, it's a really important thing to notice. It's not bad, it's not wrong, it just is. We all do it. And so what I want you to notice there with boosting your own self-worth by looking at someone and saying like, oh, I win this contest. I win the thigh contest, the thinner thigh contest, or whatever it is, right? We do this, and I do not want to shame this at all. There's nothing shameful about this. This is the stuff we've been taught. So I want you to understand that that's actually the exact same thing as shaming yourself. It's the exact same thing as losing that same competition or another competition, because what it is just a conditional acceptance of yourself. And that feels bad, because you know what? It's only a matter of time before you see someone who you lose the thigh contest to. That's going to end up being a problem. And the other thing is that your thighs are not always going to look that way. You're going to change. Your body's going to change. You're going to have to cope with things like aging and whatever happens to your body. You know, I have a good friend whose thyroid got taken out because she had cancer. She doesn't have a thyroid, which means she doesn't have a metabolism, which means she gains a lot of weight and doesn't have to do anything to gain it. She just has to eat to keep her body alive, and she gains weight. All right, so this could happen. this could happen to us, not to scare anybody, but shoot, right? If we have a conditional acceptance for ourselves, it's just a matter of time before we're upset about something. Right, so we're gonna look at an image now of mannequins. I didn't go for real women for this one, but we're just gonna look at mannequins. And so this is one of the things that we want to limit, or just notice that these may trigger. This is a we'll call this a non-responsible media image. Right, and so it's basically like clothing on 5 versions of the exact same body. And so notice what comes up for you. Notice if you have feelings. Comparing yourself. Some sort of assumption that those pieces of clothing are supposed to look that way on the body, on anybody, sort of thing. So while I'm here, we're going to transition out of this, but that's not it. Here we go. While we're here, I'm gonna keep this screen up so I can show you guys something important. And what this is basically it's basically giving you ideas of that 5%, right? This is that 5% of exposure that is responsible. Okay, so in the area of TV and movies, like I talked about the movie Embrace. I just want everybody to watch it. And then there's a great website called commonsensemedia.org. And there's a specific part of it that's sex, gender, and body image. And it gives about maybe like 15, 20 different, some of them are for kids, different programs. They're either television or movies that are affirming for body image especially. And so you may know of more. If you do, go for it. Like this helps us just come back to reality and give ourselves some positive reprogramming. I have a Spotify playlist that I highly recommend for everybody. It's called Perfect Me, and you can search for, I think you have to search for me, and under that I'm under Katie Miner. And my playlist is called Perfect Me. I also have a Facebook group called Thriving. It's just a little group at this point. There's just like 20 of us, but you can join. Just request it and I'll let you on there. So it's called Thriving, and it's partially to support my Thrive program, who's participating in this and lots of other events. Podcasts, interviews, books, and lectures that affirm unconditional love. And there's 3 authors that I love that I highly recommend people read. Janine Roth, she wrote a book called Women, Food, and God, and she has a new book called This Messy, Magnificent Life that are total game changers. Brene Brown is another just super positive, super self-esteem affirming woman. By the way, all of these women have done the work themselves. And Brene Brown, I think The Gifts of Imperfection is my favorite book that she's written. She has a new one out, and I was just trying to remember it the other day, and I can't remember the name of it. But Daring Greatly is one of her originals. Any of her books are amazing. And then Sherry Huber, she writes super fun, super they're sort of light and in nature. There's a lot of levity, but there's also this underpinning of like great wisdom and honesty. She has a book called There's Nothing Wrong with You that is it's just groundbreaking, but it's also so fun. Like the writing, it looks like it's handwritten. So the writing in it looks like writing. It's not type on many of the pages. So these authors are amazing. You can go people watching at the mall or the swimming pool. This is a good place because these are real people. These are real people. And then the last thing that you can do to expose yourself positively is just break the rules of exposure. Just break those rules. Like wear something that you think is inappropriate. Really affirm somebody who is breaking the rules of what's appropriate. Hello, I'm back. So now that we're here, we've gone through another kind of information packed thing. So we're gonna go back to journaling, and I'm gonna have you guys do a little writing activity for about 10 minutes. Where are we on time? Perfect. Okay. We'll go about for 10 minutes, but I'm gonna have you do write a letter to yourself. Okay. So you're gonna take a moment to write a letter. There's 3 different options that you can take. I'm going to actually give you an example of one. But the first option that you can take is a thank you letter to your body. And you're really just going to thank your body for everything in that 10 minutes you can think of that it has done for you. And that's a good activity if you're having a pretty good body day today. If you're not having such a great body day today, there's another activity. It's an apology letter, and it's just saying you're sorry to your body for things that you've done to it, things that you can acknowledge that you've done to hurt it. And that could be physically, right? There's physical mistreatment, there's objectification, and there's unrealistic expectations. And I'm sure there are other things too. So just use those as a guide. And the third thing, and I'm going to give you an example of this, but the third thing, which is cool, is writing yourself a letter from your body. So you write yourself a letter, your mind, I guess, a letter from your body. And so I'm going to read you guys an example of that right now that I wrote. I had to look through all my letters that I keep myself. Yeah, it's cool. In the past, they used to say you had multiple personality disorder, and they don't believe that anymore. It's just we have parts. We can talk to ourselves. It's fine. I'm not crazy. All right, so this is a letter that at some point in time I wrote from my body to myself. So, dear Katie, I want you to know that I'm both tougher and more sensitive than you treat me. I want you to know I need more sleep. I want you to know that I'm learning slowly to trust you after a long period of not trusting you. I want you to know I'm grateful for the love you have devoted to me these past few years. I want you to know it doesn't have to be so serious. I want you to know I feel hungry. I want you to know it's okay to enjoy me and feel pleasure. I want you to know I get addicted and need you to keep me balanced. I want you to know I'm imbalanced for your lack of attention on balance, literally. I want you to know I'm talking to you all the time, and I want you to listen a lot more. I want you to know I need touch and contact and love from both you and people who love you. I want you to know I'm not here for show. I want you to know that I am working 24/7. I want you to know I'm slow and thorough. I want you to know I want you to rub my belly. I want you to know I'm sleepy on a chronic basis. I want you to know I appreciate your patience. I want you to know I am a wild animal. So go ahead and take this 10 minutes to either write thank you, I'm sorry, or a letter to your mind from your body. And if you want to do the format like I did, it's like, I want you to know blank. I want you to know blank. So, all right, I'll give you that time now. Also, I think there's just a couple of us here still, but if you want to chat, I realize I didn't tell you how to chat. If you want to give me any input or ask any questions about anything, give me any comments about anything, what you have to do, if you haven't already, is click from the Teachable page. You have to click on the picture and say watch. If there's like a YouTube thing on the bottom, it'll say like watch on YouTube, or it'll say youtube.com. You click there and it'll take you to YouTube. It'll take you away from the Teachable page. And so if you click there on the right side of the page, you'll get, yeah, you just, if you hover over the where it says YouTube, click there and then it'll take you to YouTube. And then on the right side, you can chat.
So in order to chat, there's a chance they might have to be signed in to their own YouTube.
You may have to be signed into YouTube, and if it doesn't work, that's okay. But if you really want to tell me something, then do it.
And they can always leave.
You can always leave comments on the page as well. Right now or at any point. All right, if you're still writing, come on back when you've completed. So the next concept that I want to talk about is something called clean language. And I think it's part of our both interpersonal but our collective unprogramming process. And we have a lot of language out there that is no longer clean to us. And when I say clean, I mean it's free from value judgment. It doesn't, we don't have value or judgments assigned to it per se. And everybody is different about language. So some people, you say one word to somebody and they're like totally triggered by it. You say the same word to somebody else, they couldn't care. You say one word to someone, a word like God, right? The word God means something to literally every single different person. It's different. They have a different meaning for it. They're thinking a different thing when you say the word God. And so language is really important around body as well, because there are a lot of words that we have that have charge assigned to them. And there's a whole movement. So the word fat, for instance, there's a whole movement of people who are reclaiming that word. And the aim is to have it mean and feel a different way than it once did, right? So everybody has a different, like I say the word fat. So for me, it's kind of like a bad word. I don't like saying it. I'm not one of the, let's reclaim this word. I'm like, let's just avoid using this word. But everybody's different and there's no right or wrong. So if you say the word fat, that's fat, or they're fat, there's some kind of a judgment or a value or a devalue that happens to whatever object you're assigning that adjective to. Whatever you're assigning that description to is probably being devalued, right? And so using what I call clean language can help us. We're using language, which is, language is its own thing, but using clean language could potentially help us look at the same thing, but use a different vocabulary for what we're seeing, right? So we do this better when we're talking about other people, by the way, if we're really self-critical, especially. It's better, it's easier to practice on looking at somebody else. So that's essentially what I'm going to do next. If technology allows, I'm going to pull up another image, and the image is going to be of a woman's body, and I'm going to use clean language to give you kind of an example. Yeah, so let me do that. By the way, you can do this at any point with yourself. You can do it with an image in the media, but you can also do it with yourself. All right, so all right. So this is actually an image from Glamour magazine, and they were essentially did, it was relatively short, but it was an article on unconventional videography or photography. And so breath of fresh air. So this woman had this photo published in Glamour magazine. I don't remember what year it was, but I think it was 16. So what I'm going to do, we're going to look at this image, and I'm just going to use clean language to describe some things that I see, to give you an idea of how we could look at something and take the judgment and the value or devalue out of it. Okay. So and this is not scripted, so I'm just going off what I noticed. So I notice that there is on her face, there's like a brightness in the middle of her forehead, and like a strip down the front of her nose, like the middle of her nose, with a real pronounced patch on the tip of her nose. And I noticed that her right cheek has like a deeper red tone to it. I noticed that her right arm takes a rounded shape. It's almost like almost a semicircle. So starting up at the top at her shoulder and going down to her elbow area, the shape is like a very crisp, rounded shape. And that the back of her arm is sort of like a deeper shade, where the front of her arm is a lighter, more caramel shade. And at the tip of her shoulder, or the top of her shoulder, there's a round, bright spot. And I noticed that there is a strip of flesh just inside her right shoulder that looks to be a lighter pigment color strip moving downward toward her breast that is lighter. It's a lighter shade of her flesh. And then I noticed that her right breast is visible underneath her left hand, and that her left hand appears relaxed with gold rings on her fingers. And I noticed that her torso has different shades of flesh, or maybe in the lighting. I noticed that a little bit toward the top and toward the middle, her skin makes sort of like a crease that comes together in the middle at a different locations, and kind of the crease sort of misses itself. And then I notice at the crease of her hip, her flesh, there are a few like lines that move outward toward the back of her, and her flesh is a deeper, almost like charcoaly coffee color. So as you can probably imagine, we could go on somewhat all day making those observations, but those are, I don't know, maybe I hopefully did about 10 different observations that for me are clean language. They may not have been clean language for you. And just notice if that's the case, and that's totally okay. Because what's important is you just get the idea of what I just did, which was just use language that doesn't have me feel any certain sort of opinion about it. It's just facts. It's just literally, it's just like going back to the body. It's just organs and bones and flesh. It's all it is. And so doing this on other photos of other people can be really helpful. Doing it on your own body can be very challenging, but I highly recommend it. And one place you could start is just your face. And one thing I've been noticing is I have a blemish on my face, and I'm like, I'm on camera, I shouldn't have a blemish, but I do. So, well, there's all types sorts of things you can notice about your face. Like I noticed about my face that there's a crease right here. I noticed that there's a bright spot right here. I noticed that there's bright spots on the inside. I noticed there's a shadow on my cheeks, right? So it's like, by the way, that was probably not clean language saying it was a blemish. It's just like a red spot. That it's like a red circular spot. That's cleaner. Follow my own rules. So, so that's something that you can do. The other thing that I'm going to post is a challenges list. It's a list of challenges that I so recommend that you do. And if you're in my Thrive program, we're hopefully going to hit on as many of those points as you can over the month of July. So that will be up on the Teachable page, hopefully within about 30 minutes after we wrap up here. So, clean language. All right, we're almost through. We have one more thing, and there's another thing I'm going to show you. It's a visual aid that I created, and I call it the recovery process, the body image recovery process. So, sorry, I'm always a little bit behind. Okay. the way, this isn't going to be the PowerPoint that's up there. This is an old PowerPoint. I'll have one that's specially made for you guys up on the Teachable page. So, okay. So I've been working myself through this recovery process for a long, long time, which is why I'm teaching this. And I've been working through this process with a number of different people who are at a number of different places in this process. And there's no wrong place. We are where we are. Period. So no judgment, no matter where you identify on here. So the recovery process can start at a number of different places, and some people develop very, very even life-threatening eating disorders or problems or over-exercising problems. And so wherever it starts is where it starts. But this first box here could be real. It could literally be life-threatening, where someone's lab, their kidney or their liver function is failing. Okay. Or it could just be like you're done with having a self-esteem that's so temperamental and so up and down. So in the beginning, at whatever level of severity, we operate from a fear-shame cycle. A fear-shame cycle. And what I mean when I say that is we're either living up to our own expectations, right? This is when we're having the good body day. But we're in fear of the day that we're not having a good body day. Okay. Or we're not having a good body day and we're in shame. Two not so hot options, right? We're either okay with ourselves but afraid of falling from great heights, or we're not okay with ourselves. So those two, we're either in a conditional approval of ourselves or we have a super depleted self-esteem. So this is where most women will be if we haven't been treated, if nobody has taught us how to be loving, truly loving to ourselves. At some point, and nowadays the education's happening earlier, at some point, hopefully, not only do we experience, so we're moving on to the second box here, not only do we experience this stuff, but we actually take it in. So we get some education about positive body image and body hatred like we're doing today. And then we gain some awareness, so we keep that education in our working knowledge as we navigate through the exposures to mass media and things like that. And through that, we get some foundational seeds of self-esteem. We start giving ourselves other options. We start giving ourselves the freedom to be who we are, so we are not in fear and we're not in shame as much. From there, then, do the ups and downs end? No, they don't. The ups and downs continue in terms of our self-worth. And any woman who claims that she's out of that cycle completely, permanently, I don't believe. So the next challenge will always be right around the corner. So we still have ups and downs with our self-worth, but we're in the process of noticing the triggers and cycles. We are cycling. We're all cycling based on triggers. That's what we're doing. And so the next box, we implement some consistent practice of skills that foster self-worth. So this is like we know that it's important. We know that it's important to work on this stuff. And we know tools we can use that work on us, that work on me as an individual. These work for me. Remember before we looked at what repairing that damage with ourselves would look like. So those tools that work for me, not only do I know what they are and that they exist, but I'm using them. And then from there, we can move into practicing unconditional self-love. This is the last box, unconditional self-love, trust, and behaviors and dialogue, all this stuff, behaviors and dialogue that stabilize, they become stable, and they become what I call intuitive. And that's what I teach in my Thrive program, is just intuitive everything, intuitive exercise, intuitive eating. So that's the recovery process, and you may recognize yourself in it somewhere. You may notice back and forths, and that's okay too. It's okay we regress. We do. So, if you have questions about any of this stuff, I'm your woman here. I also have, oh boy, yeah. So, I think I told you earlier, but I have a Thrive program that's been going strong since February. And this is just our next module in it, and you can join it if you want to. So if you're interested in working further on this, please let me know. We'll have a workshop, an in-person workshop coming up in a couple weeks, and it'll be all on Sundays. We'll have an in-person workshop, and then we will also have an online support group and an ongoing Facebook group called Thriving that you can join now today. You just request to be there, and I will let you join. So please use me as a resource. Use me as a resource for healing if this is your thing. And I also do one-on-one sessions, both therapy and coaching. So let me know if there's some way that I can be of benefit to you or your clients or your loved ones. So thank you so much for being here. And I want to, although I know that I've made it clear through the course of today, I just want to make sure that you understand that you choosing to work on this benefits everybody. It benefits you, it benefits me, it benefits, and not just financially either. It benefits me emotionally and energetically. It benefits our whole community. It benefits our whole society, just like all the way out globally. So thank you so much on so many levels for being here. Take care and have a good rest of your Sunday.